Two breaking news stories as we come on the air. We're tracking results of key elections across the country and the major plane disaster in Kentucky. A UPS plane crashing near an airport in Louisville. The scene catastrophic. The massive fire sending a huge plume of smoke pouring into the air, filling the sky. First responders rushing to the scene. Multiple injuries reported. Nearby residents told to shelter in place. What we know at this hour. Also tonight, the high-stake races. All eyes on New York City's battle for mayor. Will Democratic socialist Zohran Mamdani make history? Or could former Governor Andrew Cuomo pull off a last-minute comeback? Plus, in Virginia and New Jersey, key governors' races seen as major referendums on President Trump. Former Vice President Dick Cheney dead at 84. The powerful tributes from his family and the president he served. Weight loss price drop. Will mega popular drugs like Wegovy and Zepbound soon cost as little as $150? The White House preparing to announce a deal with drug makers. The NBC News exclusive, the Kennedy cousin, once implicated in the murder of a young woman, speaking out for the first time. What he says about the unsolved death of Martha Moxley. Tom Brady revealing his pet dog is a clone. The breakthrough technology the former quarterback used to bring back a version of his beloved family pet. And call him Sir David. Soccer star David Beckham knighted by King Charles. And it comes with a new title for his wife Victoria as well. Nightly News starts right now.
This is NBC Nightly News with Tom Yamas.
And good evening. Millions of Americans are voting across the country right now. We will get to those high-stake races in just a moment, but we want to start tonight with that breaking news. This is the scene tonight in Louisville, Kentucky, where a UPS plane has crashed. Flames and an absolute massive plume of smoke pouring into the air. First responders on the ground doing what they can do to fight that major fire. It happened near the Louisville Muhammad Ali International Airport, which has closed its airfield because of this emergency. Police now warning anyone within a 5-mile radius to shelter in place. There are reports of multiple injuries, and Tom Costello starts us off tonight with this breaking news.
At the Louisville, Kentucky airport tonight, a massive fire on the ground after a deadly plane crash. The Kentucky governor this evening saying there are 3 fatalities, at least 11 people injured.
The images in the video know how violent this crash is. And there are a lot of families that are going to be waiting and wondering for a period of time.
This video shows the moment the plane took off with its left engine apparently on fire. Then the moment of impact as it exploded in a massive fireball at 5:14 p.m. Eastern Time. The plane, an MD-11 cargo plane that the governor says was carrying 38,000 gallons of fuel.
There was a huge explosion, believed to be a plane crash.
Louisville is home to the UPS World Port, a major North American cargo hub. With thick smoke and reports of explosions near the scene, authorities issued a shelter in place for the immediate area. At this hour, it's not clear what cargo the plane might have been carrying.
I can confirm that there was no specifically hazardous cargo on board of the plane that would create an environmental issue for those around the site.
This is a mutual aid response.
The FAA says UPS Flight 2976 was departing for Honolulu when the crash occurred. The FAA and NTSB will lead the investigation.
Can you give me aircraft type and souls on board? Do you have any of that?
In a statement, UPS says it has been notified of an accident involving one of our aircraft in Louisville. Muhammad Ali International Airport tonight is closed.
Again, there is no movement on the runway whatsoever.
And with that, Tom joins us now. Tom, any idea how many crew members might have been on board? And what do we know about that plane?
So UPS says 3 crew members were on board this flight. Again, it was supposed to go all the way to Honolulu. The MD-11 is an older plane. It was really, this one we believe was from 1991. Initially, this is a wide-body plane used as a passenger plane for long distances, but had recently, really, most of them had been converted to cargo planes over the last 10 years or so. This is the plane, you may recall, that has an engine on the tail. So 3 engines in total, 1 on the tail. And what's concerning tonight is what might have been in the cargo. We simply don't know that. And then separately, when the plane crashed, did it hit the airport's fuel farm, the fuel tanks? There's an awful lot of jet fuel that appears to be on fire right now, Tom.
All right, Tom Costello with this crash that just recently happened tonight. Tom, we thank you. Now to election night and the high-stakes races marking the first electoral test of President Trump's second term. The big one we've been watching all night, New York City, and the race for governor in New Jersey, also a big test for both President Trump and the Democrats. We're watching critical races in Virginia and California as well. Let's get right to Sam Brock with breaking news on the high-stakes night.
Tom, good evening. It's a celebratory mood here in Brooklyn and the watch party for Zohran Mamdani. If I told you 5 months ago he was going to be the next mayor of New York, what many consider to be the second most powerful executive office in the land after the presidency, you might have said I was crazy, but after what has been an eye-opening run, he is now going to be New York City's next mayor. He is the youngest, Tom, in more than a century at the age of 34 years old. He's the first Muslim mayor. He is also a Democratic socialist who has run an absolutely laser-focused campaign on affordability at a time when NBC exit polls show that, according to New Yorkers, more than 70% of them said that the cost of living here in New York, specifically housing, was a major problem. So let's talk about what Mr. Mamdani has promised voters, Tom. He said there's going to be a rent freeze. That he can do unilaterally based on who he appoints to the Rent Guideline Board. He has also talked about free grocery stores. That's going to cost probably about $60 million or more, according to some estimates. And universal child care, that's something that hits so many families' pocketbooks. As you hear the cheer erupting over my shoulder right now, the crowd just learning the news. The reality is Mr. Mamdani, under the platform of democratic socialism, has proposed raising taxes on millionaires by 2% and matching the corporate tax rate in New York City to New Jersey. Here's the key point, though. He can't do that unilaterally. It does require support from the state legislature. So you've seen people like Kathy Hochul, a Democratic institutional figure, come out and campaign on his behalf. But it's going to take a whole lot of resources and collaboration for him to make that vision a reality. Also, big news tonight. Mikey Sherrill, NBC News projects, Tom, is the next governor of New Jersey, defeating Jack Ciattarelli. Why is this a big deal? Well, Ciattarelli, 4 years ago, nearly beat the Democratic candidate, Phil Murphy. He lost by 3 percentage points. And in New Jersey, you have more than 800,000 more registered Democrats than Republicans. So if this went to Ciattarelli, that would be a huge endorsement of Trump's policies. However, that was not the reality. Mikey Sherrill wins. And so all of the shift that we saw in this last election in so many states that have seen similar trends among Latinos and among younger men, that was rejected in New Jersey. So that's one of the takeaways tonight. But clearly, as you hear the crowd roaring behind me, Zohran Mamdani's mayoralty is just sinking in. Tom, let me send it back to you.
Sam Brock, we thank you. And Liz Kreutz joins me now from across the country in Los Angeles. And Liz, a dramatic option tonight on the ballot there. The whole country is watching. It has to do with who controls Congress. And if passed, it could potentially hand Democrats more seats.
Tom, that's right. You can see we're at this polling place here all day. We have seen Californians lining up to cast their ballot in this special election, which is asking voters just one question. Do you support Proposition 50, which would temporarily, for 3 elections, introduce new congressional maps here in the state that favor Democrats? Right now, Democrats have 43 House seats here in California, and you can see the new map. If this passes, they would be able to pick up 4 or potentially even 5 seats. Now, Governor Gavin Newsom introduced this legislation in direct response to gerrymandering efforts in Texas, where Republicans there targeted 5 Democratic-held seats. Here in the state, millions of dollars have been poured into this proposition campaign. It's had support from former President Barack Obama. Those against it include the former California governor, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and President Trump, who posted today calling this a giant scam. Governor Gavin Newsom has really marketed this and cast this as a way for Democrats to be able to fight back against the Trump administration and its policies. And if this passes, it could determine who controls the House for years to come. Tom?
It is now day 35 of the government shutdown, tying the record for the longest in history. And today, the Transportation Secretary warned of mass chaos at airports if it continues much longer. Here's Gabe Gutierrez.
Tonight, the Trump administration with this dire warning for air travel if the government shutdown drags into next week.
You will see mass chaos. You will see mass flight delays. you'll see mass cancellations, and you may see us close certain parts of the airspace because we just cannot manage it because we don't have the air traffic controllers.
The Department of Transportation says 46% of air traffic delays Monday were due to staffing issues, compared to typically 5% before the shutdown. Cameron Cochems is a TSA officer in Idaho, working without pay.
It's frankly embarrassing that as federal employees in the strongest and richest country in the world, that we're having to go to food banks and not be able to pay our bills.
In Colorado, look at this food bank line.
I am a single mom of 2 kids. It's just harder.
And despite a recent court ruling that the administration must continue funding the food assistance program, today President Trump writing on social media that SNAP benefits will be given only when the radical left Democrats open up the government.
How would that not violate the court order as it's written?
We are complying with the court's order. We are getting the payments out the door as quickly as we can. USDA sent the guidance to the state. The president is referring to future SNAP payments.
On Capitol Hill, bipartisan talks between rank-and-file members have picked up. Some senators now predict the shutdown could end as early as this week. The president is inviting Republican senators here to the White House for breakfast tomorrow. Tom?
Gabe Gutierrez at the White House for us. Gabe, we thank you. We turn now to those popular weight loss drugs that are too pricey for so many Americans. NBC News confirming the White House is nearing a deal with drug manufacturers to lower those costs. Ann Thompson joins us now live in studio. And Ann, what are the details of this deal?
Well, the details surround 2 drugs, Zepbound and Wegovy. And tonight, the NBC News confirms that the Trump administration is preparing to announce a deal to sell Wegovy and Zepbound for as little as $149 a month for the lowest doses. The announcement is expected as early as this week, according to 2 people familiar with the plan. This deal includes limited coverage for some Medicare patients. The Wall Street Journal, citing people familiar with the matter, says Medicaid recipients could be covered too. The Journal also says that Eli Lilly is asking the White House to speed up FDA approval of its weight loss pill. Drug makers Lilly and Novo Nordisk will only tell us that they are in discussions with the administration, Tom.
And then, Ann, put this discount into perspective for our viewers. $149. These are expensive drugs.
Right. And they can go as high as 4 figures, well over $1,000 per month. That's the key here. It's not like you take these drugs for 1 month. You have to take them every month, so it adds up quickly.
All right, Ann Thompson for us. Ann, great to see you. Now to the passing of former Vice President Dick Cheney. For decades, one of the most powerful and polarizing politicians in America. Here's Andrea Mitchell.
Tonight, the White House flags are at half-staff to honor Dick Cheney, a man who always stood up for his principles.
A welcome like that's almost enough to want to make me run for office again.
Going against his own party, backing his daughter, then Congresswoman Liz Cheney, to take on President Trump after January 6th.
In our nation's 246-year history, there has never been an individual who is a greater threat to our republic than Donald Trump.
Cheney also defending his own controversial push to invade Iraq and his support for waterboarding, an interrogation practice later judged to be torture.
They were legal, essential, justified, successful, and the right thing to do. So help me God.
Cheney was perhaps the most powerful vice president of the modern era. Former President George W. Bush tonight calling him a patriot who brought integrity, high intelligence, and seriousness of purpose to every position he held. Cheney had already served as the youngest White House chief of staff to Gerald Ford, a powerful congressman from Wyoming, and Secretary of Defense under the first President Bush. In 2000, his son, George W. Bush, in a surprise, selected Cheney to be his running mate after Cheney had overseen the search process.
The main reason I'm there is to serve him. He needs people around him who care only about his success.
On 9/11, President Bush was in Florida. Cheney, in the underground bunker, made critical decisions, including whether to authorize shooting down a civilian airliner if another plane threatened a terror attack. It's an experience that shaped his later conclusion about Saddam Hussein.
We believe he has, in fact, reconstituted nuclear weapons.
That false premise led to the U.S. invasion of Iraq, an 8-year-long war and fierce public backlash against Cheney. Throughout his political career, Cheney faced heart disease and, once out of office, underwent a successful heart transplant.
You said that you had reconciled with death.
As I say, I was at peace with myself. It was not frightening. It's not painful at all.
His family tonight saying Cheney died surrounded by loved ones, including his daughters and wife Lynn.
Dick Cheney was 84 years old.
His family writing, "We are blessed beyond measure to have loved and been loved by this giant of a man." Tom?
Andrea, thank you. When we return tonight, the 50-year-old murder case of Martha Moxley. Now, for the first time, we hear publicly from the Kennedy cousin who was convicted and even served 11 years in prison before the case was thrown out. Why he says he was a good fall guy. That's next. We're back now with the Kennedy cousin speaking out for the first time about the murder he was accused of and that captivated the nation for half a century, the killing of 15-year-old Martha Moxley. Tonight, Michael Skakel on the case and sent him to prison before his conviction was overturned. Emily Aketa has the NBC News exclusive.
50 years since the brutal murder of 15-year-old Martha Moxley, her death remains shrouded in mystery.
I didn't commit this crime.
And now the man who served more than a decade behind bars for her killing is speaking out in his first interviews ever.
I was a good fall guy.
Cousin to the Kennedys, Michael Skakel, spoke to NBC News Studios for a new podcast re-examining the case.
Even then, I didn't know the facts of the case. I had no idea when Martha was killed, had no idea what happened.
Martha Moxley was found on Halloween in 1975, bludgeoned by a golf club, according to investigators, traced to the Skakel family home in Greenwich, Connecticut. Skakel, a neighbor of Moxley's, was also 15 at the time, though he wasn't arrested until 25 years later, with some of his famous family standing by him.
Michael Skakel is innocent.
Skakel opening up in the interviews about his tumultuous, abusive childhood and why he says his story to investigators changed from his younger years.
In 1975, I literally didn't have the emotional or mental tools. Found out I had a learning disability, found a whole new perspective on life. I was able to be more honest about my life.
Skakel has always publicly maintained his innocence, and his conviction was overturned in 2013 for ineffective legal representation.
I would have rather had them say, vindicated, he didn't do it.
Now, the formerly convicted murderer himself is thrusting the question of what happened to Martha Moxley back into the national spotlight. Emily Ikeda, NBC News.
All right, we are back in a moment with new arrests in the explosion at Harvard's medical school, plus Tom Brady announcing his new dog is a clone of his old one. How he did it, that's next. We are back now with new arrests tied to that explosion at a Harvard Medical School building this weekend. Officials say 2 Massachusetts men are in custody after using fireworks in a wooden locker in the building's research lab. 18-year-old Logan Patterson and 20-year-old Dominic Cardoza are charged with conspiracy to damage a building receiving federal financial assistance. No one was hurt, but officials say that explosion was intentional. Now to California and a museum heist caught on camera. Authorities are asking for help finding 2 people who they say stole more than 1,000 items from the Oakland Museum's storage facility last month. You see them right here. Police say the suspects broke in and ran off with jewelry, laptops, and historic artifacts. Anyone with information is asked to contact Oakland Police and the FBI. Also tonight, the revelation from Tom Brady about his family pet. The former NFL star says his new dog, Junie, on the left of your screen, is a clone of his previous dog, Lua, on the right, who died in 2023. Brady says he worked with a biotech company he has invested in to clone his beloved pitbull mix using a blood sample collected while Lua was alive. All right. When we come back, how the soccer star who had the world bending it like Beckham became a knight at Windsor Castle. That's next. Finally tonight, David Beckham entered Windsor Castle as a soccer star. He left as a knight. Molly Hunter on what he called his proudest moment.
Sir David Beckham.
Today, one of the highest honors for one of the most recognizable men on the planet. Knighted by King Charles, Sir David Beckham has been waiting for this.
I've just been emotional. Such a big moment for our family. It's so special.
With his wife, now Lady Victoria Beckham, and parents Sandra and Ted standing by.
I'm very proud to have, had such a special honor given to me.
The knighthood comes in recognition of the former England captain's contributions to sports and charity. He caught the world's attention as a teenager in the 90s. Talent, singular. And the star power with Victoria, known then as Posh Spice, astronomic. When he hung up his golden boots in 2013, his philanthropy took center stage.
I've worked with UNICEF, meeting girls and boys from all over the world. They have one thing in common. They have ambitions and they have dreams for a better future.
Just like this boy from London's East End, who became a global superstar, today humbled.
I'm stood here at Windsor Castle with the most important monarchy in the world and getting a knighthood, so it doesn't get much better.
Molly Hunter, NBC News, London.
Congrats to Sir David and Lady Victoria. That's Nightly News for this Tuesday. I'm Tom Llamas. Thanks so much for watching. Tonight and always, we're here for you. Good night. We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.